Hello, hello. Chase the Traveler again with a new episode. Now, in Japan, people dream. I mean, I've had viewers that I've met personally tell me how they were watching anime and they grew up to really admire Japan, admire everything about the country, and that's pretty much why they came over here. I'm actually not here. I'm in Brazil right now. So they came over to Japan because they watched a lot of anime. I mean, it must be like a generational thing, because I came to Japan because I was seeing how quickly Japan was like not even talked about when I was younger. And all of a sudden it was talked about every day. People were like, Japanese companies were buying up Universal Studios in California. They were buying up Rockefeller Center. So it was kind of like shocking to me, because before then, I didn't even know Japan existed. So for years, I was thinking about coming to Japan. And it was basically because Japan was supposed to be like the next big thing. And the new generation came to Japan because Japan's supposed to be the next big thing. But they were watching things that I wasn't watching. I mean, I wasn't watching anime, and till this day I still don't watch anime. But a lot of people do. And a lot of people are encouraged and excited, and they know it's not true, but it still brings them here. And, when I came here, I had big dreams. And the people around me, when they heard that I was coming to Japan, they were like, whoa, this guy's going places. Now, I definitely don't want to say that everything was horrible. No, everything was definitely not horrible. Everything in Japan was definitely not terrible. Maybe I expected too much. I mean, at the beginning, I would say that when I came to Japan, I was definitely not as intelligent. Definitely didn't understand tatemae, honne, basically a fancy word for flattery. I most certainly did not understand flattery. I mean, when you're growing up in New York, you pretty much feel that people mean what they say, and they don't waste any time. They don't beat around the bush, because they want to get to the point. People in New York kind of back then, I haven't lived in New York for quite a while, so I don't know if it still goes on, but you could live next door to somebody for 15, 20 years. You don't know what their name is. You don't care what they're doing. You don't care what time they come home. But then all of a sudden you come to Japan, people are interested in, what you're doing, who you are, what your name is, what time you come home. At the beginning, you're brushing it off, but then it gets a little freaky. But, I'm not the only one that came to Japan with big dreams, thinking that Japan had the same opportunities that foreigners who go to America have, which is, I still believe it till this day, they do not. Now, some foreigners might want to beat around the bush as they become more and more Japanese and say, okay, you know something? It's okay here. They're okay with the level of life, or the level of, I would say, maybe not success, but the level of happiness, maybe, or level of satisfaction that they're getting in Japan. Some of them are okay with that. They're not I mean, I remember one time I had a consultation with an individual who watched my videos, and he reached out and said, you know something, I'm planning on going to Japan. I've seen your videos, and I really want to book a consultation with you because I have a few questions about teaching English, and you seem to understand, you've lived in Japan, you've taught English, and I want to know if I should get a master's degree before I get to Japan to teach. And, can you advise me? And I was like, absolutely. I can most certainly advise you on whether or not your master's degree is going to benefit you in Japan, whether or not your master's degree will make you a lot of money or more than what you expect to make. Now, this cat had been, I think, in the American military, and he was used to seeing Japan from inside the US military base. So he would kind of like go off base. He would interact with the Japanese people, but he's not really interacting with the Japanese people. He's basically spending money. So when you're in a country and you're spending money, whether you're going to the supermarket or you're buying services, your perception of that country is going to be drastically different than somebody who's actually looking for work in that company. Because again, you're working for the American government. So therefore, the type of relationship that you're going to have with Japan is basically going to be American. And when you go off base, you're spending money. So people have so you're not going to be affected by really what happens if you're not backed by the US government. So his experience in Japan was actually quite pleasant. And he really wanted to come back to Japan and, and experience more of those pleasantries, but not with the US government anymore, because he didn't, he wanted to be free of the army. And, when I spoke to him, I was like, something, dude, I'm so happy you reached out to me. Because you're the type of person that I feel I can really help. Because not only have I taught English for decades, I've lived in Japan, I've looked for housing, I've gone to City Hall looking for services that are rendered to most Japanese people without effort. I've worked at multiple different places. I know how much they pay. I know how much they used to pay. I know how much they're paying now. I know if you can get sponsored. I know if you're not going to get sponsored. I know what you need to do. And I told him straight off the back, something? Obviously, if you want to get sponsored, you need a bachelor's degree. If you're going to get a master's, you're going to pay about $50,000, $60,000 just to get that master's, just to come back to Japan, to a country where your skills really aren't going to be appreciated as much in English teaching, because you're probably that master's isn't going to help you get promoted, even at the big schools. And at the most, you're going to be making about maybe, I'd say $50 more at maybe the big schools, which right now there may be like 3 or 4 of them left, or maybe 5. You're going to be making $50 more a month, but you paid $60,000 to get the master's. And your prospects of getting a raise after doing all that work is pretty much zero. I mean, think about it. 50 bucks a month. How long is it going to take for you to recuperate that investment in the masters? Then from there, remember, if you want to go back home, now, I didn't know that at the time, but I thought that working in Japan would really increase your employability when you get back home, which isn't true. So it's kind of like, okay, he understood that to a certain degree. So his next question is, do you think I should go and teach? And I'm like, dude, you're talking to an OG. I mean, I'm not going to tell you whether or not you should go, but I will tell you what to expect when you get there. And I was telling him about the remuneration, the amount of money that you're going to get when you're working over there. And you know, at that time, the yen was like at 160, I think. Right now, it's at 145. So I was talking to him about that, and pretty much I told him, well, look, right now, English teaching is a minimum wage job. I mean, recently I found out that one of the big companies, they're paying teachers full-time, meaning that if you're full-time, they probably sponsored you, meaning that you can't work at a different school. So if you can't work at a different school, you're pretty much stuck with them. So they're paying their teachers 800 yen an hour. So that's like about $5 an hour. That's below minimum wage in America, just to be surrounded by fancy buildings. And it was like he was agreeing with everything I said. He was like, yeah, but somehow Japan had some kind of magic where he knew and he understood that getting a master's in order to teach English really wasn't going to help him. He understood that. But then it was like, I still want to be in Japan. And he was like looking for a way for me to validate him going to Japan to make $5 an hour teaching English. And I was like, dude, you know, I'm just going to give you the facts. I'm not going to tell you to do this or to do that. You need to figure that out by yourself. But the fact of the matter is that if you're going to go get your master's, then go get your master's. If you decide to come to Japan after understanding that the master's is not going to really improve your status as an English teacher, you're not going to make a lot more money doing it. You're actually going to lose money depending on how long you stay in Japan. To recoup that investment, it's going to take probably a decade. You're going into a job that isn't really going to give you a raise and will not help you get work in America if you decide to change your mind after a year or 2 years. But I'm not sure that he kind of understood that, or even after consulting with me or paying to tell him what I think he probably already knew, he was still like, you know something, I'm ready to make less money. Of course, he didn't say it like that. He didn't say it like that. But he was like, well, if you don't care about money, is it still, I mean, can you live off of that? I'm like, well, of course. I mean, you can definitely live off of minimum wage in Japan, which is true. I mean, you're not going to buy the best car. You're not going to live in the best apartment. I mean, right now, I'm sitting over here in Brazil in what's considered a luxury apartment on the 20th floor. And, you know, I checked, these condos are going for about $120,000, $150,000. And they look way better than the condos that you're going to get in Japan for that kind of money. I'm not recommending Brazil or anything. I'm just saying that, hey, Japan's not the only game out there. I'm also not even saying that I'm going to stay here forever. But it's amazing how people have these big dreams about Japan. People dream big, even when people are told certain things that they feel are in their best interest, or things that are quite logical. They go against logical thinking and reason and try to justify it with whatever reasonable I'd say with whatever they can in order to basically justify a move that they're going to make, even though the move is not really justifiable. So, I mean, again, you know, he does have a point. On minimum wage teaching English in Japan, you can definitely, depending on where you live, you can live in a safe place. You're not going to exactly live in a place that's run down if you manage it properly. You're not going to have to dodge bullets at night, you know, like, you know, with people firing at you, and, you know, like, you know, no, that's not going to happen. Most likely. You're also not going to have the best of everything. No, that's not going to happen. You're not going to be shopping at department stores. You're not going to be, no, that most likely isn't going to happen either. I mean, you could once in a while, but it's not going to be something that you're going to be doing on a daily basis, or it's not going to be exclusive. You know, you're going to be having, you're going to be part of the class of people that I would say is borderline middle class, but not really middle class. You're like at the bottom of it. And also, imagine that. You go, you finish school, you get a master's or whatever, and you come to Japan in order to get employment that's not so stable. I mean, again, remember, English teaching has a lot to do with personality. So it doesn't matter that you have a master's most of the time. It doesn't matter that you are well educated or from what school you went to. It's all about whether the students like you 90% of the time. I guarantee you, you could have wonderful teaching credentials from Harvard or Oxford, and all of a sudden you step into the classroom and the students are like, dude, this guy is boring. I don't understand him. The lesson is kind of like ridiculous, even though the lesson was good. You can't make people laugh and smile. you are going to be regarded by that school as a problem teacher. That school will regard you as someone who can't teach. And what most people fail to understand is that English teaching is, a lot of it has to do with personalities. And of course, they do have to learn while you're teaching. But I guarantee you, the teacher in Japan that has the right personality, has a good rapport with the students, regardless of his academic background, is the teacher that people are going to say is a great teacher. The guy that's got the Harvard degree that came from the fancy school, and they put him in the classroom and he's like, well, you know, I went to Harvard. I went to Oxford. He can't make the students smile, or his lesson is boring. That guy's not going to last long in the school. But yeah, they do want you to have credentials in order to make the students feel good. But if nobody's signing up for your class, and you might have to look for other employment until you figure out how to entertain these people. Now, in the high schools, junior high schools, it's a little different. But then you have to be getting along with the teachers there, and you have to prop them up and make them look good, make them look like their English is really good, and that their English is even sometimes better than yours, even though it isn't. So there are a lot of mind games. But either way, I think that, people come here with big dreams. I've seen people, like I said, I've seen people in business here open up businesses, and all of a sudden it looked like it was about to take off, only to come crashing down. I've seen people who've, like I said, who've had businesses for more than 10 years, but they never move up. I know people who've been teaching for 30 years. You would think that somehow after 30 years they're running the place. They're not. So, most certainly, I would say that you can dream big in Japan. And I encourage people to come over here and actually prove me wrong and do things that I haven't ever seen before in all the decades that I've been here. I would really like to see that. Because then I could be like, man, Japan is changing. I mean, back then you couldn't do this. All of a sudden now, look at these people. So, I know some people in the comment section sometimes send me messages about, oh, well, hey, people are making a lot of money in this ski region. Okay, but, that's like 3 or 4 months out of the year. What about the remaining 8 months? Where's the money at there? Where's the money at after that? Some people have said, hey, Chase, maybe you haven't met the people that are making it big. Dude, after decades here, I know foreigners who know foreigners who know foreigners who know foreigners. So I know people that know people that know people that know people. But could I be wrong? Of course. And if I'm wrong, then, let me know of a foreigner in the comment section. I'll check it out. I'll verify it. And if it's true, then I'm going to have to acknowledge it. But either way, people, I think you should dream big when you come to Japan, because there are a lot of things that a lot of foreigners haven't done here. So if they can actually do it, or if they actually are able to succeed in a way that I haven't seen so far, I'd love to know about it, and I'd like to broadcast it. Anyway, chase the traveler. Dream big in Japan. Do me a favor, like and subscribe.